All right. What's up, everybody? Bizarrecangs, Pulp Cult. What's going on? It's your boy Big Dave and Mr. Shane here, back with another episode of the Bizarcast, the official podcast of the Bizarchives, Weird Tales of Monsters, Magic, and Machines, live every Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We might change time slots, and we might even go over and migrate over to Odyssey up here soon, but we're going to stick around here and keep doing this for a little bit till we decide to change our minds, right? We want to get our English guys and our European buddies to be able to catch us live too. So we might start doing a little bit earlier, but like always, go over to thebizarchives.com. Go get some awesome books, man. Spooky month is here. We had a release that was out that was getting ready to drop today, but there's some concerns over the public domain. So we got to take another review of it to make sure everything's all hunky-dory before we spit that out there. We don't want anybody getting sued. So we're going to be taking a look at that. But in the meantime, we got so many other great books for you guys, man. We got Bizarchives 1, 2, and 3. Bizarchives 4 should be dropping this month. And then also, we have so many other great books. We have classics. The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, Man in the 20th Century, which is the first two. Buck Rogers novellas by Philip Francis Nolan. We got so much great stuff over there. The Molybdus Articulate. We have Shanghai Horror. We have, what else we got over there? We got Sacred Times Part 1, the first part of the Chronicles of Heraldria, Epic Fantasy Saga. So much good stuff over there. Cosmic Horror double feature. So if you like cosmic horror, you like science fiction, you like fantasy, sword and sorcery, go over there and check it out. Based Weird Fiction. Follow us on Twitter and Telegram at the Bizarchives. You can go subscribe and get free ebooks over there on our Substack called The Obelisk. theobelisk.substack.com. What's going on, Mr. Shane? How we doing?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Dad. I'm I'm pretty fucking hot right now.
You're hot.
Oh yeah. It's been a really rainy day here, so everything's kind of muggy. I'm wearing these fleece-lined denim pants, and I've kind of just been marinating in my own pungent underbroth.
We got an air conditioner over there. You turn it off and turn it back on, and it'll turn on and cool the place down.
No, I kind of like it.
Okay. That's hilarious. So anyway, we got a lot of topics we're going to talk about today, but first up, I want to bring up the House of the Dragon.
Okay.
So the House of the Dragon.
Now, this is something you decided to throw in last minute, and I had no idea that this is going to be a part of this.
Well, it wasn't last minute. I've been keeping it secret from you the whole week.
So you're conspiring against me.
Yes, I have been.
I see.
Okay, so the reason I did this is because after we did the thing of the Lord of the Rings, people were like, "Oh, what's it? You guys watch House of Dragons or whatever?" So we're gonna do a segment dedicated to the House of the Dragon. And Mr. Shane, and then you guys here, we're going to take a look in. We're going to check in on House of the Dragon and see what's going on with that. So let's take a look here.
Whose idea was it? Oh, okay. Peg.
What a quality program. So that's the whole segment.
I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I want context. I need context to cleanse me.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Was he enraptured? Was he climaxing?
They did that. Apparently, I don't know. I haven't watched the show, but I caught that scene. Apparently on Twitter, they were all up in arms, like laughing about it. Thought it was so great. Some people were like, "Oh, that was really awkward and uncomfortable. Why'd they even put that in there?" And I tend to agree with that. Why do you need to have a guy?
That wasn't cut down or anything. That was the clip.
That was the clip. That was the dude. One of the characters, his name's Ajon or Ajen or something like that. And he's up there, waxing the carrot, roughing the suspect in a window over top of, hopefully not.
Nourishing the knaves.
Raining down some nature's glue.
Ew. What? So artistic.
What quality writing? What quality program that's not disgusting and degenerate? And I know people are gonna say, "Well, it's disgusting and degenerate. Why are you guys?" It's our job to be disgusting. Like,
Yeah,
we're the
this is why we're
Yeah.
here, right?
no. You don't put it in the art. You leave it up
Nah.
to scumbags like us to talk about it.
Now, you know what? I will say, as opposed to when we reviewed the Rings of Power, right? This is actually fairly in line with Game of Thrones style of storytelling. It is pretty oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Perverse.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think a spider fell on me.
We got spiders.
I got
up
kind
here.
of distracted.
We got spiders up here, but not big ones. Just little guys. They're all right.
All right, he can hang out.
He's good. So, when it comes to this, right? So I watched this scene, right? And first of all, I think that guy's supposed to be like a noble. He's part of some noble house. We just like lost like 8 viewers. But
Weed out the weak.
So this guy's
You guys didn't want to tune in to watch a guy come?
Yeah. So what I don't understand is that, like, okay, so like that should not be in a TV show. I would if I was in charge, I would never put that in a show. I would never put something like that in a show.
And you're certainly not highlighting it in a clip.
No, you're not. And it's just it's an embarrassing nasty thing, and like, you know, that's something that it's like locker room talk to like have it in there. So, but here's something that I don't like quite understand. Like, so I kind of understand like a guy that would like, let's put this in real life. Let's take it out of art and let's take it out of film and let's put this in real life. Right. There's guys out there that are adrenaline junkies, right?
Right.
That might like standing in front of a window, like looking down from a huge height might get them excited.
Yeah.
Right. What I don't understand is if he's like a noble and he's like part of the House of the Dragon and has dragon blood or whatever, why was he so ashamed?
Well, I mean, we don't know who it was that called him.
Yeah. Why is it that when that lady walked in, was he like, you know, why he should have like turned around, like fully engorged and like made eye contact
and finished on her. I don't know. Maybe it was like his mom or something. In that case, don't finish on her.
But that's Game of Thrones thing now.
Finishing on your mom.
Well, doing that kind of gross stuff with like incest.
Yeah, that's like what they're
stuff.
known for.
Yeah, they're known for this perverted stuff. So why is it that he was so ashamed? He should have just been like, you know, just turned around,
bask in my glory,
bask in the glory, you know,
of these final strokes.
Yeah. So that's how House of the Dragon is doing, guys. So just in case you want to go check in on you know, some guy beating off in a window, go right ahead. Yeah, enjoy yourself.
This is the quality you pay for.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the masterful writing. And also that George Martin guy, he just like looks like a toad. I know you kind of like him. I know you like him.
No, I don't like him. I like his stories. The man himself looks like he's collapsing in on himself.
He looks like the kind of guy that like wears like the shoes with the mirrors on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he looks like a beanbag chair with a beard.
That's already been sat in.
It's not even a new beanbag chair. It's been well broken in.
He's a well-worn beanbag chair. So that's not what we wanted to talk about tonight. So that is our segment on House of the Dragon for whoever asks. And all I have to say about that is you're welcome for the content. So
enjoy. The first one's free.
Yeah. So the first one's free. Next time you won't be so lucky. So what else do we have on the thing? So another thing that people have been talking about, and you know, there's on Twitter, on Telegram, on social media, and more specifically, in kind of like our spheres of publishing and art and comic books and and all of the above. All of us guys that do creative stuff and do it for a living or do it professionally or try to do it semi-professionally or whatever we're doing. The guys that are involved with creating art, there's a big discussion going on right now with AI. And I was also going on with the normals too, because they're like doing AI like anime girls with ridiculous proportions and arguing about it or whatever. But a more meaningful conversation is going on among like our kind of guys, right? About AI art, whether or not it's ethical, whether or not we should use it, whether or not it should be used, if it's a useful tool. And there's some pretty heated debate about it. You know, I had Mr. Matt Punjator on the other day, and he feels very strongly against AI art, right?
Right. Well, when we breach this topic, it, the first thing that comes to mind for me is, what are the criteria by which that we define art? You think of art and you think that it's an expression of emotion, right? It is an artistic expression of emotion.
I would disagree with that.
Why?
Well, I don't think that it is an expression of emotion. I think it is a transference of power.
Okay. Even in that regards, right? That's not something that an artificial intelligence is capable of achieving. That's something that's strictly adherent to a sentient being.
But we got AI art like winning art competitions, beating humans.
Well, yeah, because it's programmed to beat humans. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, the human made the AI with a program, and the program follows its commands to a T, and it produces precisely what you want it to produce flawlessly every time. That's its job. But it's not really art. I think it's cool. I love AI generated images. I fuck with it all the time. I use Midjourney and Wombo and all these other ones, Dreamscape and all this shit. But I don't think it's art. I don't think it classifies as art.
Then this brings us right back to what is art then.
Okay, how do you define it?
So I define art. So this is like where we could like sit and argue about what is art all day long, right? Pretty much when I had Mr. Punjator on, we spent most of the time kind of like splitting hairs about what art means and what art's not, and going into art versus technology, whether art is technology. And this is a topic that people have been debating about for hundreds of years. And this is a topic, in my opinion, that has no answer. It's like a mystery school.
It's kind of like a circle, It's like, is everything that's created by a human being considered art? And if so, does that then make technology art? And if technology is art, then is AI art? And if AI is art, then can it create art?
Yeah. So it's a big question. So when we get into, like, for example, like one of the things that me and Mr. Punjator debated about was about whether or not video games are art. And he said no, because it involves technology. And then I pointed out to him, and he didn't like this. Was like probably the funniest part of the whole discussion. He's like, this is ridiculous. Because I like Matt. I think Matt is like, even though I like half of what comes that half of his positions I completely disagree with, the fact that he has them is interesting to me, and he's so passionate about it. I like people like that say these, that have these like really offbeat like positions that people hate, and they just
he's found his hill and he's gonna die on it.
He dies on these hills by himself, and he doesn't even care. He's ready. I
love that.
I love that, even if I think it's a terrible
even if
hill.
you disagree.
Yeah,
you gotta respect it.
Yeah, it's like. And that doesn't go for everything. There's some hills that it's like, all right, I hope
you can have that hill.
You can have that hill. I hope you die on. But with Punjator and guys that are sort of like his personality, he's like, he's like, I'm gonna die on this hill, and I'm like, that's fucking based. He's like, but you coming? No, I'm not coming. I'm not going with you on this. But anyway, what our debate was with video games was effectively, he goes, because it's technology, and I was like, okay. Well, let's then define what is technology. And if you define technology, that's another rabbit hole, right? Because in order to understand technology, what technology means, you got to kind of go down the Luddite hole. You got to read, a lot of people read Ted Kaczynski, and then you get into Jacques Ellul, and then you get into Dmitry Orlov, and you get into like all these guys. And Ellul is the worst, and not the worst, but the densest one. And then there's also Oswald Spengler has a good one too about technology and technique or something like that. So, or technics, he calls it, is his word. But Jacques Ellul calls defines technology as like the mastery of technique, right? The technology isn't necessarily like bolts and gears and pulleys and the machinery. And that's not necessarily what technology is. That's just like the manifestation. That's just that is technology, because in certain schools of philosophy, like you don't like what defines a thing, what gives it thingness isn't necessarily like what it's made out of, because if you go into like what's it made out of, well, it's made in this, and then you break it down, it becomes atoms and strings and quarks or whatever the hell, and then then you like, all right, well then everything's just one thing, everything's just made of the same stuff, and then it's like, okay, well, how do we define it? Then you give definition to it, give thingness to it by its function, right? So a wall isn't like, what's the difference between a wall and a ceiling? Not really anything at all. But they're both like flat planes that like seven.
The axis.
The difference is, what their function is,
Yeah.
right? So when we get into technology, you have to look at like what is the function of the technology and all this kind of stuff. And the function is the mastery of technique, right? So by this definition, I think it's a good definition. A lot of stuff falls under technology. Language falls into technology. Pretty much like tons of stuff falls into technology.
Yeah.
And so does mechanics, right? And he made the thing that, it detaches us from reality. Blah, blah, blah. Man, Plato was saying, or was it Aristotle? One of the Greek guys was saying that literacy is going to detach people from reality, and that's going to be a problem. And then they made the same arguments we do about smartphones about literacy, right? Which I actually think they were kind of right about.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. But I'm not going to beat up on literacy because my like I'm selling books, and I hope people are, shoot myself in the foot. But my argument was, okay, well, if it's because it's technology, a paintbrush is also technology, right? A pencil, a graphite pencil, that's technology. So where do we like put the divider? Where do we put the wall? Where do we stop on the timeline over what is allowed to be considered acceptable art technology and what doesn't?
Now, I enjoy that definition of technology, anything that requires the mastery of a technique, but I think that it's too broad. It's paints too broad of a category for it sounds nice, but then everything suddenly becomes technology.
Yeah. Well, it's like so technology is such a big, we could do a whole show talking about technology, so I don't want to get too hung up on technology.
Yeah.
But my argument was, and it's not that I disagree with the idea that AI art is not art because it is too technological. It's not that I disagree with that. I just can't find a good argument to support why. Because I'm the kind of guy that I poke holes in my own shit all the time. I go through my whole head. Why I believe this? Why do I believe this? Do I believe this? Is it actually good? Et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, what is the argument?
So if I think that a defining characteristic of art is the intention of creation, right? And that it has to be created by a creature willingly creating it. You understand what I mean? It has to have the intention to create art. And if, humanity creates the technology that creates artificial intelligence, right? That doesn't mean that humans are then responsible for creating AI art. There's a step in between where the artificial intelligence is creating the art. So it's almost like secondhand art.
But what if somebody argues that that's the same thing with a paintbrush, but it's just a more simple paintbrush?
That's fucking retarded.
Why?
Because it's a paintbrush.
So
It
still
doesn't
technology.
require code or programming. It requires the movement of your arm operating it.
But it doesn't. But the algorithm that creates the AI art does not have will.
Yeah, it doesn't have will. I don't need to sit here and explain why this is a dumb
See,
argument for you
this is
to try to push on me.
I'm not
There's
pushing
a clear difference between AI and a paintbrush.
What is it?
One is a paintbrush and one is a fucking complicated, complex, coded algorithm.
That's not an argument.
How so?
Because a paintbrush is far more advanced than what was being used to create art 1,000 years before that.
Yeah, but the paintbrush's technique is solely dependent on the human wielding it.
So is the AI.
Yeah, but
it doesn't just create.
Yeah,
art
but a
on
human
its own.
being isn't continually coding the program every time input is put into it.
But he's wielding it like a paintbrush. This is a very
not
complex
after it's been
paintbrush.
created.
What do you mean?
Once the program for an AI has been created, then it's out of his hands and it's left to do what it's told to do.
Exactly.
It follows its code. It's not like there's a dude sitting behind every input.
But somebody is putting the prompt in to create it. So, okay, let me make this clear. I'm not arguing on the side of AI art. I'm arguing on the side of we need an argument against it.
Right.
Because
I understand that.
Because until there's a legit argument against it, I'm not going to feel bad for using it.
Here's the thing. I don't think that using AI art, quote unquote, is unacceptable for like book covers or, interior depictions of scenes. I'm just not calling it fucking art.
But do you see what I'm saying, though? Like from some guy smearing pigment on a cave wall to a paintbrush is a pretty complex tool. So from a paintbrush to AI art, you are still wielding.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's a huge leap. You could pick a fucking cattail out of a pond and fucking use it to paint shit on a wall instead.
And you know what? In like 20 years, an 8-year-old is going to be able to code a beautiful AI art algorithm.
Yeah, but he's not creating the images.
Neither is the paintbrush. The AI art program is the paintbrush, in my argument.
I don't like this corner you're backing me into.
I'm not backing you into what I'm doing is like begging for somebody to have an argument. Because I don't have one. I'm not smart enough to do this.
You know what it comes down to? This is really what it comes down to.
What's that?
Is I don't know why it isn't. I just know it isn't. I can't tell you any further than that.
So it's like, but you see what I'm saying, though. You understand what I'm getting at?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
there's a feeling of wrongness about it, yeah? But you don't know why.
Yeah, there is, but
it's ambiguous.
For what I'm saying though is like, because as a religious guy, we're religious guys.
Yes.
There are things that are like, you're not supposed to do that, and it's written somewhere.
Right.
It's written somewhere. It follows some sort of chain of logic. Like there's some sort of epistemological basis, a warrant for why that is good or bad. Somewhere, somehow. There is nothing there besides a vague feeling to justify why it's good or bad yet.
Yeah.
And we need to establish that and figure that out. So that's kind of like the whole thing behind it.
Why do we have to establish it?
Because if you don't establish it, then it can go in any sort of then you get people that are like,
yeah, but isn't just like the inherent knowing that it is off or forbidden or taboo? You think that'd be enough, right?
Once upon a time, yes, but we live in an age of rationalism.
I don't like it.
Me neither. But here's so we've established. And I'm throwing the question. I'm throwing it up there. I'm throwing it up there for anybody.
Someone
you guys
enlighten us.
Enlighten us. What is the argument? Like, so if AI art program Midjourney or whatever they're like, Midjourney. Let's say that Midjourney is a more advanced paintbrush. Instead of you using your hand guiding and making the painting, you're typing in a prompt, right? What is the argument to say why that's wrong? Because the computer, now we could go into how technology does have will. That's a whole other thing, right? So here's the deal: is we have to deal with this, because as a publisher, so I'm going to talk to you guys now. I'm going to take my thinky think hat off. I'm going to put my publisher businessman hat on, and I'm going to talk to you guys. Dealing art. Okay, so when we put out books, the Bizarcast, you could talk to any indie publisher. Art is hands down the most expensive part of creating one of these books. Hundreds, some books are like thousands of dollars to make, to hire artists. Art is not cheap. It is a very high labor thing. And you know what? And I'm not saying, and the Bizarcast has great great artists that we work with, and they give us just unbelievably reasonable rates, rates that nobody else gets, right? Because they're our boys, and they do it
because they're passionate about it.
And they're passionate, and they're awesome. But if we get into a position that we're making, we're a big time operation, they're gonna turn around and be like, no, we need our we need our grown up rates, right? Which is completely reasonable. But even then, think about it like this, guys. So an average, so I'm not going to tell you guys, because it's just like, it's kind of inappropriate to like talk about numbers 100%, but I will give you guys average numbers of what publishers make, regular publishers. So the average book this is like the entirety of the thing. The average book sells 100 copies in its lifetime, right? That is the average book. Now, obviously, that is taking into account all of the gorillions of self-publishers and all of the gorillions of bottom-tier Penguin Random House and Tor book authors that like are just nobodies and aren't very good, and they just prop up for political reasons. Like, all of the above goes into this number, and if you cut them out, the number would be much higher. So let's triple it. Let's say a book sells 300 in its lifetime. Now, we Bizarcast, because we are blessed and because we have great readers and great audience, we sell much more than that. At least of our main titles. You make about, let's say, $3 royalty a book. You sell 300 books. What's 300 times 3? $900, right?
Yeah.
You get a cover art. You get cover art, the layout, like market rates for that. You're talking, $200, $300, $400 for cover art. Sometimes more. Let's say $300. So $300 for cover art, and then to get the cover layout, if you don't do that yourself, that's $200. So $500 just for the cover. Interior art, we're talking like sometimes $100 a piece for sketch work, for interior black and white drawing. Mm-hmm. Color, forget about it. Say you have 10 stories, right? $100 a piece, that's $1,000. You're now looking at $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. So art is like cost to get art for your book inside and out costs more than what you make on these books on average for the average publisher.
Yeah.
So AI art to somebody that I don't want to, somebody that's like kind of like a little bit like what the Bizarcast was a year ago. Somebody that's in that position, right? When we first came out with Bizarre, luckily we had Donald Kent that worked with us and gave us awesome deals and all of that kind of stuff. And we had great artists that worked with us. If we didn't have that, we're talking, me personally would be in the negative. So to somebody that is like, and these micro publishers, which is the new thing, micro publishers like the Bizarcast that are a little bit smaller than Bizarcast, just starting out, or maybe they have a really niche thing or something like that. They are paying more for art, or they're breaking even on art. And that's not even paying authors or writers or anything like that. You know what I mean? So you're like putting out these books that cost $1,000, let's round it out. Let's say $1,000, and that's not even just the ISBN numbers. That's not the marketing. That's like fucking nothing. So every book is a complete roll of the dice that you're praying breaks even, right? For somebody like that who does these books, AI art is pretty damn alluring. And if you think about it from a business standpoint, if more indie publishers used AI art, there would be a lot more good literature out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's the ethical thing like you're talking about. So how do we weigh these two things out?
I just, as you've been sitting here talking, I might be flipping my argument. I've been sitting here thinking about art. And my initial statement was that art is the expression of emotion. And I'm thinking that it may actually, rather than an expression of emotion, be something that evokes emotion. And in that regard, AI could produce art if it evokes emotion in the person witnessing it.
If that is your definition of art, and you look at a piece of AI art and it gives you an emotional reaction,
That could be art.
That fits your definition.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody to like say that I'm going on sides here. I am somebody that's just looking at everything for the sake of argument and for the sake of.
I mean, first and foremost, it's incredibly ethical to use in a smaller publishing operation. As you said, it's ridiculously costly to commission individual art pieces from artists, and that also this goes into is it ethical to use AI art, because then you're putting all these you're robbing all of these incredibly talented artists of money and work, and is a commissioned piece of art going to be better than anything any AI could produce? Yeah, every single time. But I'm thinking that AI art could have its place here.
So another thing, think about it like this. So we are not comic books. We are not graphic novels. We are not creators of visual art. Visual art is an extra thing, is an aesthetic thing for us. For visualization is an aesthetic thing. We are writers. We are publishers, right? So what do you have it at?
I don't think they're liking my my stance change.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We're gonna get through this. So the way that it's like hard for me because you guys know me, I yak on and on and on about hyper romanticism and all this kind of stuff, and you guys know me, I'm like a Luddite, but I'm also I'm a guy that's trying to make my way in the publishing business and like really break ground and like go for all of us, right? So we can reclaim this stuff. So it's like I have to wear all of these hats and look at all of these different positions and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like I have guys that are really, really brilliant writers, and they have these like they send me novellas and books and like all this kind of stuff. And it's like I can't even think about putting these guys out because I don't have $1,000, you know what I mean, in the bank just to drop on a book that might fail. You know what I mean?
Have you used AI art in any of your books?
Yeah. Not interior art.
No.
We have a couple AI covers.
I specifically chose a piece of AI art that I put the prompt in for the cover of the Molybdus Articulate, and I chose that piece of well, I guess I'm calling it art now. I chose that piece of art because the things that are addressed in the Molybdus Articulate are so far beyond perception or understanding that how am I going to find someone to illustrate something that can't be illustrated?
Yeah.
And I decided to go with AI art because it came the closest to portraying what I wanted to evoke.
Yeah. So it's yeah, there's another thing is some people like, and I'll tell you some of the stuff out there that the AI stuff is because we do horror, I'm looking for uncanny, unsettling imagery.
Yeah.
And it spits out stuff. Human beings have to put order into their art. Their order has to be natural, right?
Yes.
And the AI art produces stuff that is very unnatural. And that fits the vibe a lot of times. So what I'm saying here is we are publishers, now. So we could either it's either we don't afford to have art. We let our authors sit on the sideline and wait till we have enough money to publish their book once or twice a year. And we put out way less books, make way less money. Authors make way less money, and we do less business to uphold the ethics of art. Or we do like a blend of both when we can afford the natural art, also use the AI art, and then put out more and give more authors opportunity. So it's like I'm forced between what do I do? Do I uphold loyalty to artists like illustrators, or do I uphold loyalty to authors? Right? Because the reader, and I'll say this, the reader 8 times out of 10 can't tell, and 9 times out of 10 doesn't care as long as it looks kind of cool, because they open the cover and it's over. Now they're reading a book.
Yeah, and I think we should treat AI art as sort of a stand-in, as a filler between the illustrated pieces. Something to round out the entire piece as a whole, and just add a little bit of flavor where it's lacking.
Yeah. So it's actually, guys, Harry Holler says, why not publish AI stories written by AI? Now, if you were an artist, if you were an illustrator and you needed some sort of writing done, right? So art, physical art is like illustrated art is in much higher demand than writing is. So he says, why not use an AI story? So if an artist had this same dilemma and they chose to use an AI story, I don't know if I could blame them, right? Because they are drawing and they need this writing done. And what does it cost to hire a writer? With like 10 cents a word or something like that. And if they need something that's 10,000 words, that adds up. And
very
say
quickly.
They need 10,000 words doesn't even 10,000 words is like 20 pages. You know what I mean? So it's like if they needed that and they needed AI to do it, then it's like why are we not? It's like the whole cotton looms dilemma again. Putting people out of business.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the deal: it does put artists out of business,
and I think that's my biggest concern with it. Is the work that it does take away. It's just like hardworking blue collar men losing their jobs to machines in factories, only it's a different sphere.
Yeah. So it's like it's hard to blame anybody in this scenario, because we are in a highly competitive, highly saturated industry that has like very, very high standards of demand, and it has very nuanced kind of like different things to look at. And it's like, it's like, who do I give loyalty to? Right. So you guys in the chat, I'm going to tell you, and I'm not being mean to you. I love you guys for real, but you guys in the chat that are saying, no, you can't use AI art. You can't use AI art. Our books that have AI art covers, the sales between them and the books that don't is like no difference. And in fact, some of the AI covers sell better than the other ones just because of who wrote it.
And honestly, when it pertains to this particular medium, the AI art is secondary to the story every time.
Yeah. It's like, what are we gonna, it's like
have you seen those people that sell AI art as their own art?
No, I haven't, but
there are people out there that create quotes AI art and they sell it as their own art. That is wrong. That
wrong.
is blatantly wrong, period.
Yeah.
I think when it's secondary and you're not using it to make profit, you're just using it to enhance your the artwork for your stories. That's fine. When you begin to make it the sole means of making your money, then it's ethically wrong.
Yeah. So, I would agree with that entirely. And here's another way to look at it. And this is how we, if you mix both, right? Say you use AI for some things, for like small things, and then you hire real artists for the big things. Publishing success has everything to do with the size of your catalog, right? The more books that you put out that sell every single month, even little small ones, the more money that you have. The more money that you have, the more money you can pay artists, and the more artists you can hire. So it's like, you could look at it as a way that AI art is actually helping artists get paid more.
Yeah, I mean, there's, and that's sort of how it is in almost any startup. There's this hurdle that you have to cross where, everything becomes easier down the line. So is it sort of like one of those things where it's a temporary sacrifice for the greater good down the line?
Yeah. So it's like, if we say, like Bizarcast, for example, say we have like 10 authors that are just coming up that don't like really, this is their first book ever, and they're good writers, but they don't really have the clout to sell a lot of books, and that's unfortunately the situation.
Yeah.
And we want to publish them, but like we don't really have the budget to like publish all of them. So say we have 10 of these guys, we use the AI art to give them. Then now we have books that sell every single month, a little bit, that we can use that money to hire a ton of artists.
Yeah, that's an entirely different thing that you have to consider is, are you going to be spending all the money to commission an artist to create these amazing pieces for stories that aren't going to sell from new coming authors that you haven't seen how they're going to be accepted by your audience yet?
Yeah. So Harry Holler is like really hating on me right now. He's a twisted logic for mental gymnastics. You're justifying something bad. It's never fine. He says wrong to use it, period. He's allowed to think that. I'm not mad at him.
You can have your hill.
You can have your hill, dog. He's not. But here's, so it's a complicated matter. There's people who feel very strongly about it, and
I wasn't aware there was this much controversy surrounding it.
There's heat. And as somebody that is very aware of the nature of technological society, and I'm very against AI in general, here's the deal is that, technology, like the march of technology is happening, right?
Yeah.
We are thrusted into this time, right? So it's like, what do I do? As put my hat on for a second, Harry Holler, put my hat on for a second. What do I do? Do I tell these authors that I can't afford covers for, and I can't afford all this stuff for, that they have to wait for years and, stunt my business and not hire, or do I use some AI art here and there to give guys a chance to get out there, get their first books out there? Because woke publishing does not even talk to these guys. Right. If you are not in their group or one of the demographics that they pick and choose and as their pets, they don't even talk to you. And if you have any sort of success and they catch wind of it, they'll try to destroy you. So what do? Do we ignore those guys and let them continue to get crushed by woke corporations? Or do we give them a chance and then also use the money from that to hire more artists? I would think if I was an artist, I would think that, whatever you guys got to do to get more money into the hands of artists, right?
Yeah. And, this is why I'm glad that you are helming the ship, because I don't have to deal with this problem.
I know. It sucks. So anyway, we've been talking about this for almost a whole hour. So let's get moving. We're going to have to do a 2-hour show tonight.
That's fine.
So we're moving on that. That's a whole subject we could talk about for hours and hours and hours. Let's move on to, we wanted to do another author highlight tonight.
Yes.
We wanted to talk firstly about Frostcast, a guy that's in Corey says, oh, my boy Corey, what's up, Corey? He says, we have to learn to fight the mechanurge of modernity on better terms than we have so far, and sadly that will require technologies we don't like. He's a wise dude. I love Corey. He's such a smart guy.
Could have said it better myself.
He knows what he's talking about. And then Harry says it's a dilemma. I agree. It depends. Those guys are writing stories that I'm assuming it means are great. If you are publishing them and their stories just to help them or to make money, then no. Well, it's both. It's both. Because here's dude, all business has I am pro nepotism. Like I am very pro. I'll be completely honest with you. If you're a good writer and you are in the sphere and you're like putting in work and you're like one of the guys that, if you're one of our guys, I'm gonna like help you out, right? I'm not gonna just like reach out and chase people down that, that's just the way that it is. Yeah, it's just the way. If you put in work into the movement, into the community, into the business, into this and that, blah blah blah, and you have some work that needs to get brought to light, it's just the way it's the way anything works. You know what I mean? So it's like,
and especially in this industry, because the more time and effort you put into it, the more stories you put out, the larger your fan base becomes, and the more stories of yours they want to read, and the demand for your personal literary style becomes.
Yeah. And also just to make everything it's got to make money. It's got to make money. If what you're doing does not make dollars, it don't make sense.
Yeah.
Because nothing is free. The more you professionalize, the higher quality stuff that you can create. Dude, like literally the Bizarcast, because we have had some financial success and we've been very, very blessed because all you guys listening, because of that, we are now being able to ship our own books. We're like getting off of Amazon. We're looking at opening a print shop next year. Like that's because we had the capital. We're coming into the capital to do that. You can't. If what you're doing is just a big charity, it's just
you're wasting your time.
You're wasting your time. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm not saying it's all about the money. It's about the art.
Yeah.
But the art has to make some money for it to go anywhere.
Yeah.
There's 3 things in this world that actually move the chains in real life, right? Clout, money, and pussy. That's what make men do stuff. That's it.
Yep.
Ideology and ideals and greater goods and stuff. All of that is wonderful and true and what we should go. But at the end of the day, what do guys work for? Resources, access to beautiful women, and respect. Like that's what makes a man motivated, in my opinion. Harry said, but I can't afford to pay artists, but I can put out more books. So we do. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even need to have this because you could go look at the Bizarcast books. Bizarcast 1, 2, and 3 all paid for artists. I pay artists. It's just it's a topic of discussion. It's a hot topic and it's good for the podcast. So let's go into the author's highlight here. So we wanted to talk about Frostcast, he's a British guy, right? He's a really cool guy. I've gotten a chance to work with him. He's been with us for probably about almost a year, right? Been with us for almost a year. He appears in Bizarcast 2 and then Bizarcast 3 with 2 stories. So we are going to focus on his first story, which a lot of people really like. And his first story in Bizarcast 2 is called The Statement of Carter Brinton. Shane, this is your first time you read it, right?
Yes, this is the first time I've read this story.
Give us a rundown of Statement of Carter Brinton.
All right. So overview.
Wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
Harry Holler is giving me all kind of shit about technology and using AI art, and he buys the ebook versions. Oh my God.
Come on, man.
What do you? Come on. No, I'm just kidding, Harry. Yeah, I appreciate your patronage, and you go ahead, the ebook, buy the ebook versions. That's why we put them up there. I'm just breaking your balls. Okay, statement of Carter Brenton. Go ahead.
All right, yeah. So before I get into this, once again, this is your spoiler warning. We're going to be doing a deep dive into the story, fully discussing an entire synopsis of it. If you haven't read it, fuck off. All right.
No, don't fuck off. Yeah,
Well, stick around.
stick
and,
around. Yeah.
Enjoy the spoils.
Enjoy the spoils.
All right. So the statement of Carter Brenton follows the account of a fastidious man named Carter Brenton.
Fastidious.
Yes, fastidious.
Is this your word, or is that in the story?
This is a real word.
I like this word.
Yes.
Go on.
A fastidious man. His name's Carter Brenton. Who suffers from misophobia, also known as germophobia. He's living alone within the confines of his immaculate home when one particular morning, this man spots a repulsive fungal growth sprouting from the fibers of his otherwise spotless carpet. Taken with abject disgust, he dons his trusty full-coverage hazmat suit, equips himself with some cleaning supplies, and sets to eradicating the fungal infiltrator. Only once the contaminant is safely outside within the waste bin does he allow himself a moment of reprieve. The following morning, he discovers this repugnant patch of mold has not only returned, but is assuredly spread. In this dawning horror, he redoubles his efforts of the previous day, only this time scouring the entirety of the carpet, scrubbing the day away. As one may suspect, come the following morning, the man finds the totality of the carpet infused with this resilient fungal growth. The man calmly retrieves a kitchen knife and sets to thoroughly butchering the carpet, surmising that the room is irredeemably damned regardless. Once finished, he inspects the fragments of the carpet and realizes that the mold has saturated the floorboards beneath the carpet as well as having crept within the walls themselves. Deeming this problem far beyond his means, he phones his landlord, also a disgustingly filthy man in the eyes of our protagonist. He informs the landlord of the severity of the infestation and sends along a photo of the room and the mold therein. Upon seeing this photo, the landlord agrees to come over. A short while later, the landlord arrives, incensed with Carter Brenton regarding the destroyed state of the room and claiming that he, in fact, doesn't see any mold whatsoever. A brief argument transpires, and that is when our protagonist, or possibly antagonist, depending on how you look at it, is struck with a terrifying revelation. He looks upon his fuming landlord and perceives veins of this fungus running beneath his skin, clouding the whites of his eyes. The man sneakily retrieves the knife from the floor and savagely slaughters his landlord, thrusting the blade into his body until the squeals die away and his twitching corpse grows cold. He then slits him open and sifts through the viscera, finding his organs deeply contaminated with the mold. The man is apprehended by the authorities, all of whom deny ever seeing any trace of this mold. Carter then spends the rest of his days rotting away in an institution, he himself now festering with the fungus, watching it spread in his cell, passing among the guards and inmates, from inmate to visitor, and from visitor to all inconceivable corners of the earth.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So what were your impressions of this story?
I absolutely love this story, and I love this story because of its simplicity. Not because it's written simplistically, it's not written in a rudimentary fashion. I enjoyed this story because the premise is simple. It has a simple plot. This is a story about a man whose simple aversion to filth blossoms into a frenetic, all-permeating obsession. And this slow but steady decline into absolute madness I live for that.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan O'Ryan says Lovecraft inspired for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely.
From the title, statement of Carter Brenton, to the nature of the psychological stuff that goes on with it. So, Frostkaz, right? He was kind of like in the mix with the Bizarcast for a while and didn't and he finally submitted a story for Bizarcast too. And I read this story and I was like, that was dope, right? That was just it was just like you said, it's a straightforward sort of Lovecraftian, but not trying to be Lovecraft. It was like its own thing. There was like a very Lovecraftian style of framing, but not in a way that a lot of people do. Like a lot of people go for the cosmic and go for and there you could interpret this as something cosmic. I did, right?
Yeah, because honestly, at the end of the story, you're left with the sense of, was the fungus real or not?
Exactly. I interpret it as it's this like supernatural thing.
Yeah, and it's sort of left for open to interpretation in that regards, and I really enjoy stories like that.
Yeah. So when I first read this story, first of all, the scene where he stabs his landlord is gruesome.
It is. It's a brutal scene.
And I'm weird because I don't like gruesome enough stuff in movies,
right?
Because I have like and we talk about this all the time. My disgust reflex.
Yes,
I have this like disgust. This like high disgust. So visual disgust things, like I can't even like look at them. They just make me so grossed out, right?
Yeah.
But in text, and when I can envision it, I enjoy it because it's more of an abstraction.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So when I read this gruesome thing, and also I could really, really relate with it because I'm sort of like that. You know, if there's something gross about something that's in my head, that's now gross, that's ruined.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've seen me do this kind of stuff all the time.
Yes.
Right. If like for example, if like, okay, for example, one time, one of my kids, and guys out there that are parents, my dad's out there, you're gonna know sometimes your kids have diaper blowouts, right? Sometimes the kids have a really bad diaper blowout, and it's just guys out there, you're like, it's like unholy, right? You gag. What you got to clean up is not fit for normal human eyes. It's bad. Long after it's clean, I'll still smell it, even though it's completely clean. Everybody's clean.
You've been stained by it.
It's like this metaphysical contamination, right? And you just can't shake it. And I'll be to the point that I won't even like have a drink in this room because I just like feel the particles.
Because the room's associated with the filth.
I like, for example, with if it, like somebody, and it really is based on my mood too. Like if I have like a slice of pizza and somebody gets too close to my slice of pizza or my food or whatever, somebody like waves their hand too close to my food, I don't want to eat it now.
It's been contaminated.
Even though they didn't completely touch it or anything. There's like no touch at all. To me, it's been touched.
Yeah, because it takes on a life of its own inside your mind.
Yeah, it's forever ruined.
Spreads. Forever
ruined. Yeah. So it's like I really like the fact that he's like, it's still here, it's still here, it's still here. Now, obviously, I don't have that level of like compulsion, right?
Right.
But I could empathize with. I'm like, not that I know what he's going through, but you know what I'm saying. It's like it's a very human, relatable thing.
Yeah, and Frostcast really does a great job of like aiding you in viewing this situation through the eyes of someone with this obsessive compulsive need for cleanliness, and just devolving into just manic paranoid panic.
Yeah, you are experiencing this story through the mind of somebody that is actually neurotic.
Yes.
You actually feel that it actually gives you a little bit of an anxious feeling as
it does. Yeah.
He does a very good job.
And
of doing that.
When the scene comes where he savagely murders his landlord, you're kind of there for it. You sort of feel like you understand, like this has to be eliminated so it cannot spread further.
I don't know. I love it. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. No. I definitely. Yeah, I know exactly what you're. It's like, he almost makes you feel like this landlord is like, I don't know. He's like the bad guy that needs to be done away with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he's completely not. So, but when you're going through the eyes of this crazy person, you're like, yeah, he's got to go.
Yeah, when you step out of the Carter's perspective and view it from an outsider's perspective. This is just a landlord that walked in on some dude that trashed his fucking property, and it seems totally illogical that this guy murders him,
Yeah.
right? But that's not where you are in the story.
No.
You're Carter,
You're Carter.
and you know why you got to kill this guy.
Yep, exactly. So, Statement of Carter Brenton by Frostkaz is a dope story. It's a dope story. It's in Bizarcast 2. The art that Mr. Donald Kent did for it
is phenomenal.
It's just so cool. Phenomenal. It's like the Donald Kent does a very good job at drawing madness, the expression of madness.
Yes, he does.
And you could
the look on his face in that illustration it's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. And let me see if I can bring it up here. But it's gonna be kind of a bitch to bring it up. I'll show. Just go buy a copy of Bizarcast 2, guys. If you don't have it, go buy a copy. The second story that we're gonna talk about is also in Bizarcast 2. This is The Sound from Beneath by C.J. Miller. Did you read this one?
I'm not familiar with this one.
So, The Sound from Beneath by C.J. Miller. C.J. Miller is he's in the publishing industry. He's a pretty private guy, so I'm not going to divulge too much. I don't know a whole lot. I just know that he's a really good writer. But he wrote this story called The Sound from Beneath. And the story starts out, which Donald Kent also did some really cool art for this one. But shout out Donald Kent, by the way. The Sound from Beneath, it says it's like an homage lovingly crafted. Like it is an homage to H.P. Lovecraft.
Yes.
And I thought this was like in Bizarcast, because I start out, for those of you guys that have read Bizarcast 2, the introduction piece that I wrote for it is called The Silver Key.
Yes.
And The Silver Key is a Lovecraft homage. And it was like really satisfying that the book opens up and closes with a Lovecraft homage, right? So in Bizarcast 2, at the end of the book, is the last story, is The Sound from Beneath. And this is a story that is just like, you could, if you put Lovecraft's name on this story and showed it to me, I would believe that it was Lovecraft. That's how indiscernible that this story he writes in this style. It sounds like a lesser known Lovecraft story.
He managed to truly emulate the style of Lovecraft.
He emulated Lovecraft.
Incredible.
In a very, very believable way, which like very few people can do.
So what's this story about?
So The Sound from Beneath. Now it's been a little while since I've read it, but I've read it multiple times because it's actually one of my top Bizarcast stories. I love all Dad loves all his kids. I love all the Bizarcast stories. This one is like one that like it was the last submission that I got for Bizarcast 2. We needed something that like really, really slapped. And I was like, it needed to fit a very certain vibe for me, because this Bizarcast 2 is very character driven. There's a lot of like heroics in it, and there's not as much horror. And I was like, we need a really, because horror is kind of our thing, right? It's we do everything, but from a dark vibe, right? We got that dark, spooky, psychedelic.
That's our aesthetic.
That's our aesthetic. So I wanted something that was like in that vibe. And I read it, and it was just that, for that reason, it's like a special story for me. So I read this story. What the story is about, I can't remember the character's name, but the story is about this character. He's a young lad, and he's living on his parents' estate. And I believe is the Howard estate that he lives on,
okay,
or something like that. It's or the Phillips estate or something like that. It is a Lovecraft reference. Like, this is like the late descendant of Lovecraft, what he kind of implies. But the story is this young lad is having these like health issues or whatever, and he goes to take a walk on his family's estate, and he starts to hear this strange like subneural or whatever. What's it called when it's like below?
Subsonic?
No, it's like below So I think it's subneural. I think that's what it's called.
Okay,
But it's like below the sound that humans can audibly hear. So he keeps hearing this sound. It's like a heartbeat or like a, it's like this weird otherworldly sound that he keeps hearing when he walks to the far end of his family's estate when he goes on a walk. So the first time he goes out, he like faints and he's found there, and they bring him back and they put him in bed or whatever. And his parents say, look, dude, you cannot walk to that side of the estate. That is off limits. Like, do not go there. And they won't tell him why. They won't give him any details, nothing. So he does it again, right? He goes out and then he starts having these visions and like weird flashbacks. He's seeing like this like weird door that's going to this like odd tomb kind of thing, that's entrance to some sort of catacombs or like whatever. And he like, passes out again. And I'm sorry if I'm recalling it some details incorrectly, but this is the gist. He gets brought back again. The parents like really warn him, what if the housekeepers find out and that gets out there, that's going to look bad on our family. It's going to smear our name. And he starts getting obsessed with this sound. He starts hearing it in his sleep. He starts hearing it all the time. It's calling to him. It's like a siren. He can't like fight it anymore. So in the middle of the night, he goes out and starts digging and digging and digging. And he digs all night long until he like finally zonks out. And then they bring him back, and he has this dream where he like goes and he hears the sound and he sees this doorway that's underground that goes into this like well and into this underground catacomb, and there's this inky molten flesh fluid and like this like bizarre otherworldly entity down there, and he's like obsessed with it. He's like, this is my lord, and like all and the final thing is, this is an entry to his journal. And he's like, this entity has been calling to me to release it so it can be released into this world. And I now must finally fulfill my destiny. This is what I've always been meant to do. And this is my final entry before doing this. And it's such a dope story.
Holy shit.
It is Lovecraft.
That sounds Lovecraftian to a T.
Yeah, it is Lovecraftian to a T.
I'm going to read that tonight.
It is dope. And I told Don Kent to draw. I was like, draw some just like cosmic horror stuff. So he drew this.
I actually know the illustration you're talking about with the creature comprised of all manner of different entities, features. There's like a goat's head and tentacles and weird sucking ventricle-esque tubes.
Yeah. It's got a pair of tits on it.
Yeah, of course.
I love how Don Kent just like draws pairs of tits on everything.
Like, fuck it, we're gonna sneak these tits in here.
Yeah, but it's a really good story. CJ Miller, and I believe that CJ Miller has a story lined up for either Bizarcast 4 or Bizarcast 5, and we'll talk. I love CJ Miller's writing. He's a really, really talented horror pulp writer. He's a throwback, you know? So what I wanted to talk about with both of these stories, contains an element of cosmic and an element of supernatural, and both of them 100% have an element of madness.
Yes.
Right. Carter Brinton really, really intensely. Right.
Yes.
And then also, I'm like getting the hiccups here. So, excuse me. Let me get a drink of water. They both have madness. So Shane, talk to us about how important madness is for horror literature versus something like, because it's not seen nearly as much in movies as it is in literature. Why is that?
Well, you're right, and I think it has to do. It takes a specific kind of horror to facilitate the descent into madness. Because you couldn't do it in it just wouldn't fit in like a typical, slasher story
or a creature feature.
Well, it depends on the creature feature.
Mm-hmm.
take for instance the Shadow over Innsmouth, right? Arguably, one could say that to a certain extent that could be considered a creature feature. Yeah?
No,
No.
I wouldn't say so.
It doesn't necessarily,
It doesn't feature the creature.
but it features creatures.
It doesn't feature them.
It doesn't. Okay. I feel like you're focusing too much on the feature part.
Unless on the creature.
And yeah. The point is that, it depends on the story. It depends on the subgenre of horror that we're talking about. So if you are working with within the vein of horror subgenre that facilitates that kind of that sort of insanity, right? It has to be done well.
Yeah.
It's difficult, especially in literature. It's difficult to appropriately portray one's slip from their pedestal of sanity and that slow but steadily increasing decline, because you have to understand the source of it. You really have to empathize with what's happening with the character. And the genre of cosmic horror is so appropriately suited to this specific mechanism of characters going mad, because they're dealing with things beyond. It's not like a possibility of madness. When you're dealing with cosmic horror, it is a certainty of madness, because you're encountering things beyond your mind's feeble capacity to comprehend.
Yeah.
Lovecraft has that famous statement: the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. I would take cosmic horror a step further and say that it's the fear of the unknowable, that which simply cannot be known or understood.
Yeah.
That drives the madness inherent in those stories.
Yeah, madness is certainly a a key element to cosmic horror. So a lot of folks don't really cosmic horror as a whole is a very niche subgenre of horror, and it's very niche, but it's also like the most influential, as now all horror you see little even just like the littlest sprinkling, a little bit of flavor, the slightest nudge from the cosmic horror in like everything now, right?
Yes, it's all taken influence.
Cosmic horror is fundamentally different than regular horror, and it's fundamentally different than supernatural horror, which they are. I'm anti-genre, and I think that you should just like genres only exist as like a buffet of bins to pull elements from to create something, whatever you want to make it gonzo and wacky, which is what pulp is about. But cosmic horror as a whole is a very, very important horror subgenre, because it was kind of like it's like the last stop. You can't go further.
It's as far as you could possibly push horror.
It's as far as you could possibly push horror, because it's different than supernatural horror. So supernatural horror, if you look at supernatural horror, a lot of times it's ghosts and demons and things that are supernatural or paranormal.
Yeah.
Something that
they're natural adjacent.
Yeah, natural adjacent. Whereas when you look at cosmic horror, it is stuff that is I guess you could say extra natural.
There is no parallel.
Supranatural.
Yes.
Yeah. There things that just don't belong in nature at all, right? Which is what makes it. How can you fathom that which cannot be fathomed?
Exactly. How can you comprehend something that exists beyond nature?
Exactly. So it's like things like an entity that's bigger than the universe,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Or a creature or entity that comes from a realm where geometry is different,
Yes.
where the laws of nature don't exist, or they're completely distorted and bizarre.
And this is a genre of horror where these entities aren't even necessarily evil or malevolent. We're dealing with entities on a scale that is so large that oftentimes they're simply unaware or completely indifferent to your existence.
So we got a couple guys in here. Harry says Poe was the master of descent into madness. Would you say? So he is a master. I would say he is a master. He was like the first to do it.
Yes. Poe certainly was like a pioneering author in the genre of maddening horror.
Yeah, I got him right here.
That looks like an old book.
It's a very, very old book. Where is it? What year is it from? I think it's from the 50s. I think this is a 1950 something. Let me see. But yeah, so you can't see it on screen. I don't got my camera hooked up. But yeah, I got Poe right next to my desk. I read him all the time. I think I absolutely love Poe. But is he the master, as in the best to ever do it? I can't give him that point. But what I can say is he was the first to do it. He created that.
Yeah, he pioneered it, and I mean, we all know that Lovecraft perfected it.
Yeah, Lovecraft is when you talk about madness, like there are other guys that do it very well. Blackwood does it very well.
Yes,
Mackin does it very well. Howard does it very well.
In his own way, he does. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that did, but to put it on the map, it is. So all of the above, I would say. Hollywood isn't history. Hey, buddy, what's up? Dave Martell, I just read your Lucius Lex story in Bizarcast 3, and I loved it. It had gore, it had gash, totally badass.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I'm glad that you liked it. I was actually a little worried folks weren't going to like that one because it was so over the top. But people said it was like their favorite Lex story.
I think that's like what people are signing up for when they jump into a Lex story.
yeah, hell yeah, very cool. Harry says, so let me hit Grimdark, what's up, bro? Says, hey Dave, I'm on coffee break from recording. I just want to let you know that the audio for your first Pro Bizarcast video will be done by tonight. Oh man, my man Grimdark awesome. Half off, my man, pots and pans. Thank you so much, Mr. Grimdark. I'll catch up with you later, bro. If you guys aren't subscribed to Grimdark Half Off, he's like my two favorite YouTube channels right now are Grimdark Half Off and Arkham Reporter. Like one does Lovecraft, the other does Conan, and he's also like bringing in, like, he was talking about Dark Sun lore, the Dark Sun D&D campaign. He's like talking about like all
the good stuff.
I was like, a channel doing all my favorite things. It was just so based, so based. Make sure you go subscribe to Grimdark Half Off. Harry Holler says, could you expand a bit on what constitutes cosmic horror and perhaps what is not cosmic horror? So yes. At its core, cosmic horror is that which is something that comes from the cosmology. Here, I'll just bring up the Bizarcast thing here. In the meantime, Shane, define cosmic horror for us from your point of view.
I think cosmic horror is the criteria of a cosmic horror story is you have an unassuming protagonist that stumbles haphazardly onto something that is far beyond anything humanity has ever encountered before. Something so large and utterly dooming and devastating that it is imperceivable. The literal revelation of its existence cannot be contained within the confines of the human mind.
Yeah. So here we have what I did, this little write-up here, and it's really short, so I'll read it for you guys real quick. It says, what is cosmic horror? One of the most prolific pulp fiction genres, cosmic horror is a flavor of spooky storytelling that bends the mind. As its architect, H.P. Lovecraft said in his famous quote, the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Cosmic horror embodies this concept of a looming evil that is unknowable and inconceivable, where simply trying to understand or look upon these otherworldly forces shatters the mind and drives one mad. Cosmic horror skips the traditional horror tropes of gore and jump scares to blend and question the very laws of reality itself. Can you imagine an entity that is larger than the universe? What about a being that transcends time, or a creature whose form is a deranged amalgamation of horrifying appendages? Perhaps an unreachable realm consisting of angles and colors beyond man's perception now leak into our world with no hope to stop it. The name cosmic horror often implies that the antagonist's presence within the story hails from elsewhere in cosmology, outer space, different dimensions, or planes of existence where reality itself works different than our own. This lends to the psychedelic quality of cosmic horror and its use of vibrant colors and bizarre aesthetic. Another aspect of cosmic horror is its ability to invoke dread and hopelessness. And many of these stories, the protagonist has his mental state eroded by the knowledge that something of immeasurable power is lurking, and there's absolutely nothing that anyone can do. It's truly timeless and groundbreaking subgenre that has been entertaining readers for nearly a century. If you're new to pulp, it's a stop you don't want to miss. So that's my little write-up on cosmic horror and what cosmic horror is.
I think another defining characteristic of cosmic horror is that almost always they are tragedies.
Yeah, almost always, because it's like, you know, like in your story, let's talk about the molybdenous articulate.
Okay.
The entities in the molybdenous articulate that kind of gets brought through the primordial barons.
Yes.
Right? The primordial baron is, what is the primordial baron?
Oh man, that's a lot of lore to get into right here.
Yeah, we're coming up. We're starting to run out of time, but could you give us a short version?
So essentially the primordial baron in the molybdenous articulate is one of several of these entities. Each individually exists as a remnant, a fragment of a greater entity, that primordial entity that existed before existence. And it exists beyond dimension, beyond time. It is an isolated entity that exists to exist solely alone, so that all how
Is it like Azathoth?
It is very similar to Azathoth, only by the time we're encountering it, a fragmented version of Azathoth, where every individual fragment has taken on life of its own.
And aren't these fragments like coming across the existence, trying to come back together?
Yeah, that's their goal. Their goal is to coalesce, merge together once more, while simultaneously destroying all things in existence, so that it can once again exist solely alone.
To be like, to create like the great platonic oneness, like but an entropic version.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But it's like this is like something that is so far beyond conception that to try to describe it having a physical a physicality about it is like impossible to do. This isn't something that can be perceived with visual or ocular receptors. This is an entity that exists far beyond anything so rudimentary as that.
Yeah. So that's the cosmic horror, is like it, and people that do cosmic horror really well do it as like from the point of view, perception of a human, right? What a human would go through interacting or stumbling upon or having to deal with something of this nature, of this magnitude, right? So it's like what if you came into contact with some being like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
It's just it is just going to break your mind. It's like, and this is kind of, you know, our ancestors understood this as well. There's a story, and now I'm not really that smart with the Greek stuff, but there is a story where I can't remember exactly how it goes. It's a parable where a human sees Zeus, and he's like, Zeus, show me your true form. And Zeus says, I can't show you my true form, or it's gonna, fuck you up. And he's like, no, I want you to show me. And Zeus is like, all right. So he shows him, and it completely like fucks him up. Like it completely breaks his mind and everything. Like this is something that just can't be, it's so out there, Zeus's true form, and Zeus takes the form of human being. And this is what I think all the gods do. All of the gods, when they interact with human beings, they take on the form of human beings so that we can understand them, right?
Right.
They don't that's not like their true form. So this is kind of like these entities that are so large in cosmic horror. These forces are so large, like they're like this like Platonian thing, like in Plato's thing, the gods are so big that they don't even like really know that we exist. It's like an elephant versus an ant. Like elephants aren't even aware that ants are there.
Exactly.
And then Matt take that down by many, many times. Like an elephant does not understand that there's an amoeba, right? And he just completely crushes and annihilates grillions of amoebas every step.
Yeah. He's completely unaware that they're even existing.
So what cosmic horror does, and why cosmic horror is so scary to modern people, is we have egoism from humanism, right?
Right.
We have, Nietzsche said God is dead, not because, that is a good thing, but what he was talking about is God is dead because mankind no longer has the need for God, and therefore he's utilitarian and will put himself upon the throne of God. And that happened, 100 years ago.
Right.
So what happened is now mankind has this full ego that we can understand anything. We're capable of understanding anything. We're capable of inventing anything, overcoming any obstacle, full progress, full man is as smart as. And what cosmic horror does is shatters this and gives the reader the possibility that maybe man isn't that smart, and maybe man does not have that kind of power. Because if you like look at like today when we were driving, there's that horrible accident we saw, right?
Right.
That is just how, and that happened because people did not know how to act during a nasty rainstorm, right? We got which by the way, if you're down in Florida and you're dealing with, if you're down in Florida and you were dealing with, the hurricane thing, I hope you guys are doing good. Prayers and blessings to you guys. But when a hurricane happens, people don't even know how to behave.
Yeah.
Because it's so beyond something that they're capable of dealing with. And that's kind of like, imagine a hurricane by many thousand times magnitude.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't even begin to imagine it.
So that's what cosmic horror is. And it is different. That's how it's different than supernatural and then gothic horror as well. And we are completely out of time. But maybe we'll talk about gothic horror next time, right?
I'd enjoy that.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up, guys. Guys, go buy Bizarcast books. We got so many great books. We are working very, very hard to expand and grow out into a new thing and bring new authors in. We have so many big plans. I got a video game coming out, bro. I got a video game. Legends of Hyperborea is coming out. The demo is coming out. It's going to be coming out this Yule. So you guys, this Yule, this Christmas, get ready. The Legends of Hyperborea demo is coming out, and that's coming out just because you guys have been supporting the Bizarcast. The Bizarcast, and also help from our buddies at Imperium Press. They made some very generous donations to make that project happen. We got that coming out. We got tabletop games coming out. We have short films coming out. Our boy Lord Wolfshield is doing a film adaptation of Shane's story, actually, in Bizarcast 1, Baby Teeth. We have a film in the making that we've been working on. We are like working our nuts off to really stab into these institutions and take them back, because I got so tired of complaining about the pause, complaining and bitching and moaning. And I was like, I want to pick up the sword and I want to carve out our place in this world. And and not just like moan and complain and mourn what we no longer have, but create something awesome and beautiful that we can share with each other and that we can hand down. So, as you guys know, everything's a transgenerational effort. We're going to leave these art forms to our kids for them to build off of. And then 2-3 generations, they're going to have a new Hollywood. They're going to have a new publishing industry. They're going to have a new everything. They're going to be in the driver's seat. And we're just planting the seeds. We're just laying down the bricks. And honestly, the Bizarcast is just like one brick in a huge wall. It's not like we're just like one of the fish that's in the in the ocean that is mounting this kind of offensive right now. So it's not just us, but in our little sphere, in the little Bizarcast sphere, in the Dave Martell sphere, we are capable of doing this because you guys have bought our books and have supported us and have like just been so fucking awesome. And I love you guys and I appreciate you guys and I appreciate your support and all the kind words. Guys in the chat were saying that I'm just so happy that the stuff that you guys put the faith in us and that also that we were capable of delivering something that you guys really like. So we're having so much fun. There's so much excitement. We're doing so much cool stuff. We're giving guys, stages when nobody else would even talk to them because, let's face it, the industries don't want straight white men anymore. So guess what? Straight white guys, we got a place for you. So that's what we're working towards. And help us grow. If you don't have a copy of Bizarcast, guys, go get yourself a copy. We got more stuff coming out. We got young adult stuff coming out. We're gonna start printing out stuff because people have been asking, hey, because the Bizarcast has some grim, gory, brutal stuff in there. It has some really disturbing, spooky stuff, and it's an adult book, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say, early teens, appropriate. Don't give it to your kids.
No. Some of the stories are fine. Some of them, just read it first before you give it. Don't just go hand it off to like your 9-year-old or something like that. It's like, it's for adults. You know what I mean? That's the kind of fiction it is. It's how it's always been. But we do have people have been saying that people have been saying, hey, we need some stuff for the kids. There's a lot of other great publishers that are doing stuff with the kids for the kids, but we're throwing our hat in that arena too. So we're going to have a couple of young adult titles that are coming out, and we're just working really hard for you guys. And so if you want to help us and you want to continue to see us grow, the only thing that you can do is subscribe to the Substack. It's only $5 a month. You get free ebooks, you get articles, you get paranormal paranormal transmissions, which is people's real life eyewitness accounts of dealing with the paranormal. Get all kinds of stuff. But buy books, man. You're going to love them. Go do it. We got a new book coming out this month. So go get yourself a copy of any of our books and get caught up because we got new stuff coming. We got a whole bunch of new stuff coming. And very soon you'll be able to buy Bizarcast through our website. Harry says, oh shit, I've been reading Bizarcast to my 6-year-old nephew before. Some of the stories are fine. Right? But just there's like a couple, if your 6-year-old is cool with like demons getting their guts ripped out and stuff like that, then cool, right? We do. There's a couple guys that say that they read the stories and they just leave out because there's some bad words in there sometimes. There's like some mentioning about pretty ladies, and there's some illustrations of ladies with their boobies out. You know what I mean? So just if you censor that stuff, it should be all right. But I'm not here to tell you how to be a parent. You guys are great parents. Dad how you're gonna dad, right? So that's going to be it for us tonight. Follow us on Twitter and Telegram at the Bizarcast. I'll see you guys next week, Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern. And also make sure that you go over I'm going to be on the Prudentialist on the 5th, this Wednesday, the 5th at 6 p.m. Eastern. So go over there. I want to see all the Bizarre Kings roll up. I want to show the world, our strength and our power. So make sure you be over there in the chat and help back us up over there. We got to have a good conversation with them. But I'll see you guys next time, next Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern. See you then. Hails and blessings.